Boom, and we are back from UFC 248. That just happened last night, March 7th. It was headlined by Adesanya and Romero. Dan, that was mixed emotions I felt last night.
A lot of mixed emotions. Co-main event stole the show. But before we get into the fights and everything else, just wanted to thank all of the fans that decided to follow this week. I know we just got our Instagram page up. We're still working on iHeartRadio, but thank you for all the listeners on YouTube.
Yes.
All the podcast sites.
Yeah. Everybody, if you remember to join us in the future, we're on whatever channel you're listening to us on. We try to make it as easy as possible so you can join us on Apple, Spotify. We'll be on iHeart soon. We're on YouTube, and then you can always go to our Podbean website. If you have any suggestions, like maybe there's a podcast website where you like to download from, typically let us know. It's as easy for us as just simply signing up.
That's a great point.
Yeah, just let us know. And please leave us comments and ratings, help boost our show. We definitely like getting people involved, having a discussion, especially when we start adding, more and more guests in the future. We'll kind of get into that later. But yeah. So thank you everybody for that tuned into our preview show. Now we're hitting the post-fight a day later. It's Sunday, and we've been trying to hold off talking as many points as possible before getting on live and chatting. But, man, yeah, it was all over the place. First, let's quickly go through the card. So the first fight up, let's just quickly announce the winners from everybody last night. So the first one last night was that one was Oliveira versus...
Yeah, but just to, keep it in sync with... the preview show,
we
did talk O'Malley, so O'Malley had a great return.
Yes,
Then walking into the main card, we had Griffin with a decision win, Magny with a phenomenal decision win. Then we walked into the close Dariush fight, which Dariush ended in amazing fashion.
Oliveira won that one against Max Griffin.
Oh, I said Griffin?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I know you're reading off there. Yeah, Oliveira won the decision to open up the card. He looked fantastic, but go ahead.
And then we had Weili Zhang with a decision win. And then we had Israel Adesanya for a decision win, which we'll get to later.
Not many finishes last night on the main card, at least, which sucked. But Sugar Sean O'Malley looked good coming back. It was kind of a weak finish, at least on the part of Kinos. He did not look good. He pretty much, it looked like as soon as he saw that opening where he knew O'Malley was going to come in, he hesitated and he just took a bunch of shots, and then they called it. O'Malley
crumbled.
Yeah, because O'Malley looked exactly like I said. He was going to take his time. He was going to open up the round, just getting a feeler and getting used to the octagon again. But hey, man, either way, looked fantastic for him. He got the quick stoppage at 3 minutes into the very first round. So welcome back, Sugar Sean. Can't wait to see his next matchup. But let's kind of kick it right off and get into the main card. So what were your thoughts on Oliveira versus Max Griffin?
So for me, for all, we're working on it, definitely don't put your betting odds on us last night for sure. We came in on the opposite side of this. I think Ryan and I both came in with Griffin possibly winning that fight, but Oliveira came in and he looked fantastic. He kept the distance with his leg kicks, his front leg kicks, let me say. Even when he looked like he was going to, lose the fight or possibly take some huge damage in the third round, he kept himself composed. He kept Griffin locked up on the ground so that he couldn't get any significant strikes. But I think Oliveira looked great with his boxing, moving around the ring, octagon control. I think he looked phenomenal last night. Griffin, I was really taken back. He came in at first, moving around a lot, hopping from side to side, moving around a lot. I thought he was going to, try and throw Oliveira off with some wild, punches and or kicks, but he just ended up getting just outboxed. He ended up getting outclassed. He couldn't get around those kicks. Oliveira did a great job.
Yeah, man, he looked every part the veteran and fighter that we all know and we expected from him. He's had a rough run late. That's why I kind of gave the advantage here to Griffin. I thought he was just going to come in and push the pressure. But to your point, right away, Max opened up throwing some strong 1-2s coming up right up the middle. Like he came to bang, apparently.
Yeah.
But Oliveira looked so composed. He was using his length perfectly. He was counter punching really well, moving out. He tired Max out real fast because he just hit him with a couple 1-2 pieces. And then he really slowed his roll. And then from there, it was pretty much just Oliveira who who took over. I think I had Max winning the first round, and then that was the last round. After that, it was all Oliveira for the most part. I think Max had a couple desperate takedown attempts, but Oliveira shook him off, except for at the end, of the very end of the fight. I think he got one of them. But I was also surprised how well Oliveira was able to defend the takedown as well in this fight.
No, he did a great job. And I think the cool thing is that you mentioned it, even in the first round, just that front leg kick, like it kept Griffin from being the aggressor. But even
his jab too, man.
Even in the third round, like he just did a great job, even though he was gassed. Because Joe Rogan was like, starting off the fight, he was like, Oliveira's gas tank, and he really lasted. I mean, it wasn't until the last 2 minutes that I think Griffin got him down, but he even kept that clinch, kept Griffin close. Griffin wasn't able really to land anything. It was just wasted time. Oliveira felt at the point already won the fight.
And that's where good jiu-jitsu comes in. I thought that was a good point that you brought up. Oliveira was able to ensure that there was no space created for Max to posture up and strike, because Max is primarily a wrestler when it comes to the grappling game. I don't know what his jiu-jitsu skills necessarily look like, because he usually stands up as much as possible or uses his wrestling to press guys up against the cage and dirty box. But I think Oliveira did a good job of just negating his wrestling by keeping him close, man. That's what great jiu-jitsu guys do, is they keep you so close, they give you no room to move. And that's why it almost feels suffocating, and that's how I think he felt last night sitting over Max.
Impressive, even on his back, he's able to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
impressive.
Yeah, because the guy, especially, that you would think is going to be stronger, which... Yeah, apparently Max was not, because I thought Oliveira was having the better exchanges with the body. He wasn't able to posture up, get up, and strike.
Strikes. I mean, they had pretty much neck and neck with total strikes, 62 for Griffin, 61 for Oliveira, but significant strikes. Oliveira almost doubled out Griffin with 40 significant strikes to 23 based on UFC stats.
Dude, that was Oliveira's 17th fight in the UFC. He's been around the block.
He's a veteran.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's a veteran. Oh, yeah, for sure. Which is funny, because he's actually the younger of the two. He doesn't look like it. You can tell he's definitely been fighting for a while. But
he looks like what you would call he looks like the picture if you were to Google ring rust. That's Oliveira.
He's such a great, humble guy, though. At least it seems that way when you watch him.
Absolutely.
So he's definitely a guy you cheer for. Like I said, I just went coming into this fight, he was on kind of a skid, and I thought this was definitely Max's opportunity to shoot up into the
show out for sure.
Show out, and you know what? He just got outclassed. So it just, you kind of wonder where Max is going to go from here. He's 34, so he ain't a young gun.
No, but I mean, I think at this point, I think Griffin will end up moving to the position of someone to beat in the division to move up in the rankings. Oliveira, I still think, is going to be somebody that's going to continuously move up the rankings. I think at this point, Griffin will probably just be somebody they're new, they're going to be a hot streak or what have you, and Griffin is going to be the person to walk to, kind of like a gatekeeper. But cool thing, I don't know if we're wrapping this up, but I thought it was really cool. At the end of the fight, Oliveira walked over to his other half, the other cowboy, signed his hat, took his feather, shook hands. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else for this fight?
No, I like to see Oliveira stay at 170. He went down for, he's bounced around between lightweight and welterweight. I think he looks a little bit healthier up here. He's long anyways, man. There's no reason he needs to be cutting down to 155 at this point.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I say stay up here at 170. I'm happy to see him fight. Actually, you know what? Let's bring up the lightweight rankings real quick, because I kind of want to check out.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to call is hey fans, please always we're always in here for competitive chat. Whoever you think should be next, let us know. I know we started doing that just for the championship fights, who we think should be up next. But for any of the fights that we're calling, if you thought it was a great win, who do you think that they should fight next? At the end of the day, Dana White's handing out fights for the fans. So let's go out there and make our predictions and calls.
Actually, you know what might be a good fight for him, just kind of
Oliveira?
briefly? For Oliveira, yeah, coming off of this.
Yeah.
At the welterweight division, I think would be like a Vincent Luque or Anthony Pettis. Just looking at the rankings, those are two top 15 guys. They're at 13 and 14 respectively. I think that those would be actually good matchups for him.
I would agree.
And I think because for either of those guys, even like Luque and Pettis, I think Oliveira is like a tough veteran dude. Just to test, and I would like to see those either of those fights.
I probably lean more towards the Luque fight, not so much the Pettis. Pettis is just very unorthodox the way he fights, and Oliveira, like, he's a great boxer, great jiu-jitsu artist. I would like to see him maybe not go against somebody that's so stylistic.
Yeah, but you know what? He's so much taller though. Yeah. He has that reach advantage. Plus, one, I think that would make a great fight for the fans.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other piece about that too is. I think I would like to see him get paid a little bit. Pettis brings in a little bit, show, but
we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
They need to get paid.
Yeah, I think. Hey, man, he's a veteran guy. He's been around the block. Why not, feed him someone like this? I think that could be a headliner or co-main event on just like a free fight card. Too.
Oh, for sure. I think that I would pay this. I mean, I would pay ESPN Plus money to see that.
Well, you are anyways if you're buying the pay-per-views. But yeah, either way, I think that was good. So closing out that fight. Any other things that you saw from that fight? Questions, comments,
honestly,
concerns?
No. I think we called it how we see it. Where Griffin's headed next. Where Oliveira's headed next. And yeah.
Yeah, Griffin's not.
About that.
Yeah, Griffin's not going to break the top 15. Welterweight is pretty.
That was his shot this last.
Yeah, that was his shot to break that top 15. And potentially get one of those guys, but he's out. So, moving on. Let's get to the next one. Do you want to announce the next one?
I am excited to call this fight, and reason being is because I need to bite my tongue on this. While back, before I even jumped on the show as a guest, Ryan and I were talking about Neil Magny, and Ryan was like, "Yo, Neil Magny's the man. He's coming in. He's gonna be a wrecking ball to the division." And after I saw him fight Ponzinibbio, I was like, what is this guy Ryan talking about? This guy is not really a great fighter. And last night, did he prove me wrong? I had on my card, even with the Oliveira, I was wrong. I called Griffin, called that fight wrong. Magny, I called this Li Jing because of his performance of the night wins, his fight of the night wins coming into this fight, winning on the last Zhang card against Andrade. I just thought that they were going to be on a tear. And it was just, for me, I would say embarrassing. Joe Rogan made a great comment last night. He's like, Magny's been out for a year. Let's take a look back at what his ranking was before that, and then maybe put Lee in there a little bit below that. He should not be fighting somebody this high on the ranking, even though he's been out a year. He needs to be fighting somebody a little bit less of a veteran.
Lee?
Yeah, he got completely outclassed last night.
Well, this was his opportunity. It's the same thing as we just talked about with Max Griffin in the fight before. This was his opportunity to finally break out because Lee's been in the UFC for a little bit. He's had some good fights. He was on a 3-fight win streak. So this was a good fight for him to test because Neil's a great fighter though, man. I picked against him in this one because to your point, like. After the Ponzinibbio fight, and then he had the long layout from the injury, I was like, it seemed like, Lee was kind of on the rise there a little bit. I thought he was going to be like the hot fighter coming in, but fuck, Neil must have taken that time and just utilized it for training because, man, he looked crisp.
All night they were calling it like he was working on this. He must have been working on that. His striking, his takedown defense. I mean, he looked fucking phenomenal.
He owned the takedown or the grappling, which shocked me because Lee comes from a wrestling background. So and as big a dude as he's
pretty thick, man.
He's thick.
He's got a lot of what's that word that I'm looking for? Like center of gravity.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to easily take down Neil with those twig legs.
Yeah, dude, but Neil did an amazing job in the grappling. He was able to get underhooks as much as possible. Whenever Lee drove him to the cage, he was able to flip him right around pretty much. For a little bit early on, they seemed pretty even, like they would exchange position a little bit. But yeah, I was shocked to see how well Magny was able to handle the wrestling. But to the point, man, he did exactly what we said he needed to do. Was he handled the distance really well with the striking game, and. If you need any proof of that, if you just go back to the stats and look, he landed 123 total strikes out of 188.
Yeah, one thing that I will say, I think it was, and don't quote me on this, but walking into the second round, I felt like Lee had already looked defeated and or concerned. You can see it on his face.
Oh, definitely.
He was not expecting it. And within not even halfway through the second round, and definitely in the third, he was completely gassed out. It was almost to the point of like, oh, and they even said it like whoever made the betting odds should have fucking called Joe Rogan, because he called it that the betting odds shouldn't have been that wide of a spread just because Neil Magny was off for a year.
Well, it wasn't that it was a wide spread. He was just saying that he thought that Lee should not have been the favorite. But again, I think what the odds makers...
I thought they were saying widespread, but...
No. He wasn't too big. Like, we didn't have any big odd spreads on this one, but they were definitely saying that, or Joe kept saying over and over again that Vegas shouldn't have put him as the favorite, Lee, that is, over Magny. But again, I think that was to the point that we looked back at Magny's last fight and the fact that he's been off and Lee's been hot lately. So I think that that's what Vegas was looking at. But again, it's not like it's not like there was this huge advantage in the odds to Lee. You know what I mean? Going into that one.
Yeah,
so
no, thanks for correcting me.
No, that's fine.
Can you
go
run
ahead.
through a little bit of the stats, like just so people really understand from an in-depth perspective, like what we're talking about here? Because for me, looking at it across the table, whoa, I didn't think it was that much of an outclass.
Oh my God, yeah. So I even had it in my notes because I take notes during the fight too. Going into the third round, John Anik was like, Magny was up 75-17 in significant strikes in just 2 rounds.
That's honestly that's embarrassing.
That's getting completely outclassed. Lee has proved, that he definitely needs some lower level fighters still to improve. He needs to improve a lot. Maybe Magny just took that large a jump in that time off.
Night. Like, if you really think about Magny, like, he's gone through some huge fighters. Condit,
Kelvin
Johnny
Gastelum.
Gastelum.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that he beat Gastelum.
Yeah.
But Johnny Hendricks till he stopped was a beast. He went through Condit, and Condit is a submission expert. I mean, Magny's had some huge winning fights, and you forget about that. That's why sometimes when you walk into fights like this, you got a year off. People forget. It's like, show me you know me. Nobody remembers if you're not relevant. And Lee in recent past has looked phenomenal, but he was just outclassed.
So let's run through some of these numbers real
absolutely.
quick to your point. So by round number 2, where you could really tell that Lee, to your point, was like starting to gas, Magny really found his footing. Total strikes landed was 58-1. Magny had that advantage. Not to mention, he added 2 takedowns to that as well. So again, we talked about coming into this fight that Lee was going to be the big wrestler, so Magny needed to keep his distance and jab. He definitely kept his distance when he needed to, but Lee had 2 takedowns in the first. Magny had one himself, and he was able to handle himself really well and got right back up anytime that Lee pressured him. But 58 total strikes to 1
Lee
in the
failed
second
last
round.
Night. I called it. He should have been more aggressive with those leg kicks. He came in intermittently, throwing leg kicks, but he should have been so much more aggressive. Because every time he hit him, you saw Magny. He either switched or he just started to circle the ring, and Lee just didn't take notice to that.
Yeah, well, because you know what? So I noticed this really well is Magny was cutting off the cage. So anytime Lee started backing up and moving around, especially by the time the third round came around, Magny did a really good job. And I'm going to talk about this a lot when we get to the main event too, because what Yoel did not very well last night was cut Adesanya off, whereas Magny
didn't do anything.
No, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Forget about he didn't do shit.
But Magny did a really good job. So when I'll kind of get into the fundamentals about it.
Go into it.
We will when we get to the main event. I'll kind of hold off and I'll get into it. But he did very well cutting him off. I even said at the end of that, I was like, 30-27. Like, this wasn't even close. I mean, even in the third round, dude, total strikes landed 44-7 Magny. Not to mention add a takedown to that too, just looking over the stats real quick. Damn, that is dominance. Yeah. So absolutely impressed by Magny. I can't wait to see who he's going to fight next.
Can you pull that up? Can we just do another call out? Because of
course, hell yeah.
With how much he's been out of the division to what performance he put on last night against Lee, who everybody was voting to be the winner of that. I think we should probably. I think he's up for a big fight next.
Dude, man. I was just about to say, who'd be a fun fight? This won't happen, but Nate Diaz and him. 2 long, lanky fighters like that.
Dude, honestly, I think he'd get picked off.
No,
I think Nate would. Nate would get picked.
Oh yes, yeah.
Because after watching him, his boxing got so much better. His distance, he really figured out.
And his cardio.
And Nate's got great cardio too, but I just think that Nate
Not the way that Magny moves, though.
I think Nate is more of like, come in and I'm gonna, we're gonna bang. But I don't think, honestly.
Actually, you know who I'd really like to see him fight is
yeah.
Joff Neal. I think they're very similar. Well, at least in their striking. I think that they're very similar fighters. Like Joff Neal has a great left hand. He has a great jab. Sorry. Well, I guess same thing. But he has a great jab, so he's a long, lanky fighter, just kind of like Magny. Magny's obviously taller. I think he's got to be the tallest dude in the division at 6'3". He's only 1 inch shorter than Adesanya. But I would love to see that fight because Joff Neal right now is ranked number 10.
Yeah, and I mean, even down the road.
That'd be a great matchup.
Well, actually, you know what? Did he called out Michael Chiesa last night?
That's right, he did.
I just saw it. He's
Chiesa?
number 7.
Damn, I forgot that Chiesa's that high.
Yeah, and he called out Chiesa, and honestly,
you know what?
That would be a dope-ass fight. They're both lanky. Chiesa is a submission expert, jiu-jitsu expert. And you know what, Chiesa? I can't say that he's great with his hands. He's getting better. And I think he's in the right weight class. That I think that would be a phenomenal fight.
That would be actually a great matchup. I actually do like that, especially looking at the rankings because Michael Chiesa's up there, man. I didn't even realize he broke the top 10, but I mean, I guess it makes sense with the last few fights he's had. So then I like that. That would actually be a great matchup.
I'll pay to see it. I don't think Nate's coming back. So let's be more realistic.
Nate will only fight the fight. He'll fight Conor McGregor or Masvidal.
My call out for who I think he should probably fight next is one with you, Chiesa, or I think it would be great to watch him fight Stephen Thompson. I would love to see that. Stephen Thompson is a significant striker.
Yeah, that could potentially be a very boring fight. Seriously, because both guys are very smart and they stick to the outside. Like, that's one of those ones where styles could negate each other. And
we saw that in the main event last night. We'll wait for later.
But yeah, I think any of those are great. A huge step up in competition. He's back. He looks like he's on fire. I thought this was a good fight. Maybe you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC wanted to feed him one other guy that's outside of the top 15 just to kind of get ramped back up.
Yeah, let him polish up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think polish up a little more. Yeah, because and then the welterweight division's got to get settled out a little bit more. Anyways,
so maybe that
I like it. I like it.
Probably be good.
Yeah, because you figure like Usman still has to fight. He's probably going to be fighting Masvidal soon. I think
he'll probably have to go between Tyron and Leon.
Tyron and Leon are set to fight soon.
And I'm excited about that.
That'll be a great fight. So, yeah, whoever wins that one, he should be fighting Jorge Masvidal soon.
Well, he's fighting him during International Fight Week.
Yeah.
I think is that booked, Ryan?
I don't know. I don't think it's booked yet.
Okay.
Usman sounds like he's hard to fucking book, man. I mean, I like the guy, but I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, I think there's still a little bit at the top of the division for that to shake out. So I think any of those like that we just called out, or maybe even one, just keep him one more outside. He can come back
by the summer or even by the fall.
Oh yeah, he looked great. He looked great after that.
He walked out like a shiny new penny. I don't even think he had a scratch on him.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So yeah, any other questions, comments, concerns about that one?
No, man, I think we ran through it. Well, once again, fight fans, please, put in your predicts in there. We always love controversial discussions or just your thoughts, just so that we can, call you out on it.
I just want to get to this next fight because that's where my 3-fight call streak starts. So,
well, not even that, man. You're a huge fan of Beneil Dariush, and he came through and surprised me. I don't know about you, but he surprised me.
Nah, that was what I was expecting out of him.
I was expecting a submission, not a knockout like that. And
he has that. He trains with Rafael Cordero, man. That guy. He turned. I mean, Dos Santos was kind of a mid-level fighter for a long time. He was around the UFC for a while before he actually just shot up into the top of the lightweight rankings and became like the guy that he is now, that's at the top of the welterweight or lightweight division, whatever he feels like fighting in. I mean, after he started training with Rafael Cordero, man, he really upped his game because he was a great jiu-jitsu fighter or artist and grappler, but it was his hands that were lacking. He went to Cordero, changes the course of his career, man. So to me, it didn't surprise me. I think, I was kind of anxious to see like what the young striker, the young bull would do, but Beneil put a stop to that pretty damn fast.
And I think one thing that we called last week is like Close would be able to get in with those strikes and, throw Dariush for a something that he just didn't expect. And I think it only happened probably one time in the first round. And as soon as he caught Dariush just put on his old-fashioned let's get into the grapple. And I think it was probably like almost 3 minutes that he sat on Klose's back trying for that rear naked choke. But the thing that was so cool, excuse me, is how smart he is. Like, he kept trying to get it in, but how he would just try and distract him. So he would move his hands in opposite direction and just get in it. And I think it was like 2 or 3 times that he got it in pretty close. And you heard Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier say, like, look at his abdomen. Look how hard and heavy he's breathing. Yeah. He had it locked in. I will give Klose credit for fighting out of that, out of those rear naked chokes like 2 or 3 times.
Tough. So the thing that Dariush could not put through was that. So when you're going for those chokes, you have to get underneath their chin. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's all pressure. Like when you have that arm over their chin and you're pressing that's all just pressure and it hurts, but it's not going to choke you out. A lot of guys freak out when they start. Maybe they can't breathe because their mouth is covered or whatever it is.
Right, I feel like the pressure on your jaw would feel like it's gonna
it does. But I mean, if you get acclimated to doing it, as a fighter. Yeah, and you get acclimated to doing it, I suppose. But Klose just tough through it. And the other thing too is body triangles are not easy. So it's not easy to hold for Dariush.
Yeah, that's one thing they were saying. Like he was gonna tire.
His legs were gonna tire.
He exerted an energy.
Yeah, but that also hurts you too, man, because they have that leg wrapped around your stomach and it's constricting you. So he has his stomach is being constricted, and then on top of that, I think it was actually really smart that he stayed standing though. Ultimately, because if he went to the ground, that would have been a lot tougher to try and get out of that. But the thing that he did really well was he was what we call like answering the phone. So that's where you have that arm up here. So if you aren't watching the video, essentially what you're doing is you're getting that hand up to your ear and you're blocking that person from getting their hands through your neck, because he's going to try and sneak that hand underneath your chin, pop that up, and then he's going to sink in that choke. But he couldn't do that for 3 minutes.
He stopped for a couple of times and he was punching him, trying to...
Because you're trying to loosen him up. Exactly. Trying to loosen him up.
He tried it, but Klose got through that round, and he
incredibly.
made it through,
Incredibly. I couldn't believe it. And even Beneil said, he was like, I didn't think it would have that big an effect on my legs, but it did. Klose actually looked like he was about to finish it, man. It was a wild second round. Klose came right across. He was going to crush him. He saw that Beneil was kind of standing pretty stiff and heavy on his legs, and he was taking some shots. So he took advantage of that and came through, and then Beneil hit him with a counter shot, and then you saw him get shook, and you're like, oh my God, like Beneil's about to go out. Beneil's about to go out. Oh, wait, he just clipped him back. And then he pressed him all the way against the cage on the other side and absolutely just landed a great shot on him. You saw Klose's eyes roll back, and then he just went down. You're like, oh my
see it,
God.
Straight up, if you did not see what his face looked like when he got hit, run that back. Go on YouTube, whatever, and look at his face when Dariush clipped him in that chin. I mean, I've never seen a camera shot captured the way that, like, you can tell like he was out cold, but his eyes were just
as he was going down.
It was insane
as he was going
down.
But
honestly, though, I felt like Klose would have lasted a little bit longer if it wasn't for that nut shot. Because like you said, it throws you off a little bit.
No,
it
does.
Like when you've never been kicked, and we said it last week, when you never felt getting truly pelted in the nuts. Like I felt like it threw him off. Like he should have took the time. Klose should have took the time, got himself a little, get some breaths in, relax, but he just jumped right back into it. And what was it? Not even a minute later, he was sleeping.
Yeah, but in that same regard, like he also was pressing. That to me, that was just Beneil's counter to the fact that.
Excuse me.
That was Beneil's counter to Klose coming in, because Klose came right in on a straight line, throwing haymakers 1-2. He was throwing those power shots, and that's when Beneil clipped him coming in like that and shook him and brought him to the other side of the cage. So man, that was a great fight, man. I even wrote in my notes. I was like, wow, fight of the night right there. Throw them boys $75,000
fight of the night, but it did get performance of the night.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they do fight of the night anymore. I think it's all just considered performance of the night.
No, I think
I don't think they do submission of the night and all that stuff anymore. I think they just do they'll give out a few performance of the night awards.
No, so people. Actually, I posted it on our Facebook page. I believe Joanna and Weili Zhang got fight of the night.
Yeah. No. And that definitely should have. I was just saying, like, when this one came up and I saw that fight, I was like, oh, this is going to be fight of the night. Little did I know what was going to happen a fight later. So, yeah. So these boys definitely deserve performance of the night. That one was fun. I mean, I don't even know if it's worth looking at the stats here. I mean, because most of the first round was the grappling here. Anything significant you see from it?
The only thing that I'm looking at here that was a little, like...
Hey, closer to the mic.
The only thing is close outstruck Beneil Dariush. Like, if he would have just been able to just continue down the path of throwing strikes, because he already fought off the best way possible the submissions. If he would have just kept his distance, kept himself composed after that nut shot, he was winning the fight. And it just, at the end of the day, you hear it everywhere and all the time. All it takes is one shot, and it's...
Yep. It's over. Is that the one that you wanted me to do?
Nah,
we were talking about this.
I wanted the night, but
you're gonna go night.
But no, great fight. I'm not sure who I want. I'm not sure who I want to see Dariush fight next. But keep your eyes out for close. I think
lightweight's so deep, man. I don't know. Lightweight's so deep.
I think for both of them, there's going to be some great fights coming up. But fans, if
that
you
was
have anybody you want to see, let us know.
Yeah, Close was 10-1 going into this fight, so I mean he's still
and it's his first loss.
It's
his first loss
in the UFC.
Yeah,
in the UFC. So I thought he looked. He still got a career ahead of him. I think he does have to work on his striking and his stand up, just because he's very forward moving, like a heavy striker does, like a wrestler does, pretty much. So, like to see that development from him. But yeah, let's get into the next fight. Like I said, I don't think there was anything else. Before we go into the co-main and the main event, one announcement from last night was they inducted Gus versus Jones 1 into the UFC Hall of Fame for fights.
And well deserved.
Yo, damn right that was. That one was insane.
I'm surprised it even took that long.
Well, you always got to give it a little bit of time, Yeah. You got to let it time to simmer because you got to be able to go back and look at it.
I would like to see, though, I'm not going to lie. Like, I wish they had, like, a video clip, like, from one of them. Like, I see it in other sports, like, where they would put, like, a video clip of, like, one of them, thanking, for being inducted in that. Like, just, like, a quick blurb.
Well, they had both guys talk about it a little bit. No, not Jones. I think Gus, maybe. I think Gus was talking about it.
I mean,
or no,
Gus isn't coming back.
It was Jones. It was Jones was talking about it. Gus was not there. Gus is retired.
Yeah, because in that fight, where like in the video, like that video of John Jones looked like it was like from the before the fight, like it looked like an old ass clip.
No, I think that was a recent one because Jones was
talking.
He
looked super young in that clip.
Jones was just talking. I don't know when they shot it, but I mean Jones was talking about the fight a little bit, so it was nice to hear that. I definitely still, I don't know, I still thought Gus won that one, but it is what it is. So, hey, at the end of the day, it was still, please look at both of them after the fight.
You want to go right now? Octagon control? We could do this all day, Ryan.
Oh, get the fuck out of here about Octagon control.
MMA, I'm sorry.
Get out of here with the Octagon control. He looked busted up. One of them had to go to the hospital afterwards, and the other one went home. Yeah. You know who went to the hospital afterwards? The champ. So get out of here with that one.
Bro, that elbow ended it. I'm sorry. That back elbow. Pat. Gustafson. That was it. After he threw that, he was like, yo, fight over.
One shot to 4 rounds of getting whooped up. At 3.5, I should say, because I thought Jones won 4 and 5, but Gus won 1, 2, 3. And then the other thing too, so they announced that they're gonna do some kind of new like community, helper award, named after Forrest Griffin.
Like NFL.
Yeah. Like for fighters that do a lot in the community and stuff like that, and then essentially what they would get awarded for is $25,000 donated to the charity of their choice. So I thought that was really cool, man. I thought that was awesome.
What I think is cool about that is that not only are you giving the fighters more, but you're also pushing them to actually outline and define the platform that they have. Let them drag that out.
That's a great point.
Let them be able to use, because I mean, if you think about it, like look at some of their fan pages. Like we're coming up to the co-main event. Like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Weili Zhang, they're from different parts of the world, and they're following streams from our continent to their continent to several other ones. And if they're able to actually do something that's going to benefit, whether it's the United States or somewhere else, they have such a huge following. And if they're able to be pushed and driven to do something with that, it means so much. I mean, I don't want to see fucking Colin Kaepernick type stuff where they're taking knees on you know our national anthem. But
well, that's not community service.
But use your voice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Let it be heard. And I
well,
think
not even just
cool
your voice.
Thing.
They're saying they want to see your actions too. I mean, I thought that's a great point about their platform that you just made too. We have, you know, the UFC is worldwide now at this point, so I think that's a great point on you. And it's nice to see that they kind of honor Forrest this way too. He's been helping out people for a long time.
Forrest Griffin?
Yeah, because it's the award's named after him. It's like the Forrest Griffin Community Service Award or something like that. He seems like
a really great guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. You never hear anything bad about him. But yeah, so that was only 2 announcements really coming out of that. I don't think they really announced any new fights or anything, but they made those 2. So I thought that was
that's pretty cool.
Worth
I
mentioning.
didn't even. Well, I mean, they did launch, I believe, yesterday. The Nunes versus Spencer fight. So that fight's locked in. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's right. Remember, I even said that. I was like, I hope what they do is they just give Megan Anderson or they feed both those girls to Nunes. They need to.
So UFC 250 is looking lit because you got Nunes up in there and you got Cejudo versus the king of that division.
King of Rio.
Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
So for you,
well, he ain't the king of that division. He's new to it.
Well, I know you're excited about seeing Aldo come back, and so am I, because I think we had the argument last week, and we'll get into it at our later time. But I just don't think I'm not excited about him, and I don't think most people are to see Cejudo fight Aldo all day.
No, I don't think a lot of people like Cejudo. He's just a weird character. And he doesn't have very exciting fights, so whatever. But anyways, yeah, let's get into this. I know we have a lot to talk about with this fight, and we have a lot to talk about with the main event. So why don't you bring us in on the co-main?
I don't know if I'm ready for that, man.
Yeah, you are.
So for me, and I feel like half the damn world was a huge upset last night. Reason being, I felt like it, and you see it on our page. I think it should have been not a split decision. I think it should have been called a draw. If anything, no, it should have been Joanna's fight. She should have won the fight, but at least it should have been a draw. I don't think Weili Zhang outperformed Joanna in any which way. And I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything yet. But if they're calling it on the takedowns, it was 1 out of 8 that she actually got classified as a takedown.
Dude, one judge gave Weili 4 rounds.
That's insane.
Absolutely insane. Now, when I was watching the fight,
and even from my boxing predictions, like she didn't outbox Joanna not 1 round.
Okay, well here I got something for you. Remember, I think you said this last week, maybe on our podcast. Didn't you say you gotta beat the champ to be the champ?
I think she beat the champ last night. Just because her forehead looked like some next level alien shit, that don't matter. That can happen to anybody.
I'm using your own words against
you. And that's
fine.
Hey,
trust me, I'm on the side.
I want to have an argument about this one. I'm passionate about this.
I'm on the side where it doesn't matter if you're the champ or not. A fight's a fight, so if you don't win the decision, if you don't win the rounds, then you lose the fight. Because the thing is, when you get to the top level of talent, the difference in talent can be razor thin, like we saw last night with these girls. They put on a hell of a performance. They put on clear fight of the night and probably one of the best. It's got to be a top 5 women's UFC battle.
I don't even know.
All time.
Honestly, I can't even think. And I mean, the female division hasn't been around that long. There hasn't been that many significant fights.
There's been plenty of significant fights. When you think about Valentina, when you think about Nunes, a couple of JJs.
I know, but every Valentina fight that I see, like, I don't even think it's significant. It's just like a quick one and done. If anybody, a Nunes and Holly Holmes. Chris Cyborg always killed everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't ever significant, but, like, Holly Holmes always had great fights, like, great outperformance, technical fights, and Nunes always just shock the world every time.
Yeah. Well, getting back to this fight, I think JJ won it. It was definitely like razor thin close, I thought, but I thought she eked out the points in every single round because of her purely because of her volume. And we're going to get into that here in a minute and look at the stats, but it brings up a huge question. What will win you rounds? Either winning by volume or winning by landing the bigger shots. And I think you're seeing conflicting information between this, the decision of this one.
I mean, that hitting a nail on the head.
And the decision, and the decision that's made in the main event. I think you're seeing conflicting interest here because I thought the reason that the judges gave Weili the decision here was because she landed the bigger shots.
Okay.
Like she was clearly the stronger of the two. But then that conflicts with how Adesanya won in the main event by landing more volume. Granted, it was very little more volume, but because
can I have like a light shine on you for that epiphany comment?
Yeah,
that was like a poof, light bulb. Because if you really think about it, Ryan, Weili, yes, she did land some of the harder punches. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the scrambles, Joanna did a better job exiting those scrambles with more significant strikes based on the leg kicks.
Yeah.
Her leg kicks were tearing Weili up, whether it was her face, her body, or her legs, and they called it. Weili did have, I will say, about several or a dozen really good strikes. Yeah. The only thing that I can say, and I hate to be saying it right now, because I love Joanna Jędrzejczyk, is Weili did put not a significant amount of pressure in the fifth round over Joanna, but she did bring it more than Joanna did in the fifth round.
Because I think what I saw from Joanna is she thought she won rounds 2, 3, and 4, which I thought she clearly did.
For sure, hands down.
So I think what she was trying to do was make sure she wasn't going to get knocked out. I think that was what I saw.
But I don't even think
her.
Weili had it in her to knock her out in the fifth round. So I think Joanna should have fought.
No, she definitely should have. She definitely should have, but she didn't.
But Joanna threw some really great...
Oh, she threw some great body shots. Now, if we go back to the very beginning of the fight, I thought Zhang looked great at first. Like, it took JJ a little while to understand the distance because I thought Weili was doing a great job of counterpunching. JJ loves throwing her straight kicks up to the face and stuff. Weili was doing a great job of just countering those shots.
Did you notice that weird, hip jiggle? She would be standing there, backing up or moving forward or moving around the ring, and she did this, Weili Zhang I'm talking about, this really weird hip,
Oh, that's because it's like a feint, but with kicks.
No, but it was really strange because she didn't do anything when she was doing it. She would just kind of move her hip.
Yeah, because you got to think Weili also throws some unorthodox kicks, like straight kick. And I say unorthodox because not a lot of people throw them, like straight kicks, more karate and taekwondo style. So,
yeah, but I don't feel like she landed significant ones.
No, she didn't.
Joanna landed.
No, she didn't, but that's the thing is she was still feinting with it to keep the distance. So, because JJ was the taller person with the longer reach, and I really think JJ settled into her striking range in the second round. So that's why she's feinting that. She's feinting the kicks to keep JJ at distance. And that's why she does a little bit. But the thing is, it's like throwing a punch. If you're not going to throw a punch, you can't throw a feint. You're just wasting energy at that point. Because if you're throwing a feint, it's like, well, you haven't thrown a punch. Why do I have any reason to think that you're going to throw one now?
I'm really looking forward to the next week to really see what the fight fans are thinking, because there was no controversy last night. It was just Weili won and that was it. I thought it would because during the rounds, Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, it was for me it was awkward. They kept talking a lot about we're not judges. We're kind of like fight fans. How can we predict it and watch it? And the thing is
that wasn't their best night of calling.
No, it was honestly I don't like Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan on the same thing. It sucks.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan, but Daniel Cormier is just man, calm down. You're too emotional. And you focus on things and you try and hyping it up and you're just dragging it out. I texted you last night. I'm dude, enough.
Yeah.
You're just going too far into it. It's not that big a deal.
Well, I thought it was funny. He called himself out in the main event, but we'll get into that. Not when Dominic Cruz, he was saying, was texting. But yeah, they were a little awkward. They didn't have really good cohesion last night.
But the thing is,
I don't know. It was really weird.
For me, one thing, a point should have been deducted for Weili Zhang's coach picking her up in the second round and walking to her fucking chair. That should have been a point right there. It's like what's that guy's name? Where they were giving him an inhaler during that fight.
Oh yeah, Greg Hardy.
You know what I mean? No, you don't do that shit. You don't pick your she literally after she got kicked in her face. She was wobbly. Yeah. I thought she was gonna come in, and she came back that round. She started the round off great, and Joanna's coach has said it. She's good for the first 2 minutes. Tear her up after that, and she did it every round. Mm-hmm. She saw, but that should have been a point right there. Were you picking her up like a goddamn baby, sitting in her chair, fanning her and shit? She's a fighter. This is a fucking brawl. This is championship shit. Let her do her thing.
That's a good
So
point.
for me right there, she should have had a point, which would have gave Joanna the win in itself. Against what we're going to walk into, and I hope you do, the numbers. Because the numbers, as they say, speak for themselves. But to Ryan's point, is it significant strikes or volume?
But here's the thing, though. When I say power shots, I don't even mean significant strikes because we're going to get into the numbers here, and it's going to blow your mind. But what I mean is actual power shots. So the thing about significant shots is it's different than just landing a regular shot. It just means, like how well you landed it, and if it had the potential to hurt your opponent. But what I meant was like the sight test. Like when you're sitting there watching, Weili obviously landed some bigger shots, and that's where the contradiction comes in.
Yeah, but
about what means more in the middle of a fight.
So my thing is where I'm going to question this is how much influence does it have of the
exactly
of walking into that fight, the thought and that already assumed feeling of that fighter. Oh, Joanna's going to come into this fight. She's going to throw a lot of shots, but they're not powerful. Weili's a powerful striker. I think Joanna threw an immense amount of power strikes, right, left-hand hooks, amazing inside kicks where Weili's leg moved and she had to go jump back.
Yeah,
Weili
looked wore down by the time the end of the third round.
So for me, I mean, it's just so difficult.
Oh no, trust me, I agree with you.
I would hate to be a fucking judge, man.
I wouldn't because I thought this one was pretty easy. I thought that they just screwed this one up.
You know what? And like I said, I hope this week that we see somebody saying that this should be an automatic rematch, because if it's not, I'm going to be, as a die-hard Ioana Jędrzejczyk fan, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
If she has to go anywhere else but then a fucking rematch. But then again, we got the Rose and the Jessica Andrade fight. But honestly, there's just nobody else for Ioana to fight. She beat everybody else.
Yeah. So I want to jump into the stats here in a second. Yeah. I'm just going to say a few things about the technique. I thought they did an amazing job. Both their hands are so lightning fucking quick. I think this was the first time that we've seen somebody that has lightning quick hands like Ioana. Ioana, we always knew, had lightning quick combinations, but when they stood in the pocket, these girls would throw. They are probably some of the better technical strikers that we see for both men and women because they keep their hands up. It's very tight. I love the way that they're keeping their punches nice and tight.
It's the cleanest.
It was so clean. They come in, throw a couple, 3-4 piece combo, and then back out to the side.
But I thought Ioana's was better.
She did. I thought she landed more shots in those combinations when they were locking in.
I got to rewatch the fight, to be honest, for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But the other thing too, I thought was surprising is how well JJ handled the clinch game. Every time they were up against a cage. Yeah, let me check real quick.
We're still checking that we're recording because Ryan messed up our first time.
This was going back weeks, so I didn't mess up again this time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. # whatever. No. Where was I again? See, you ruined my vibe there, baby. What was it?
About Ioana and Weili Zhang in the pocket.
They're grappling. No. I was talking about the grappling. Actually, I was very surprised. JJ kept flipping around, man. She was able to neutralize the grappling. We thought Weili was going to just be able to overpower her.
She didn't do shit.
No, I thought they did. I thought it was neutralized there. They both did really well.
She tripped her a couple of times.
I think JJ actually won a lot of those clinches because the thing that she did is when they broke, she threw a lot of good left hooks. She when they kicks. Broke, I think she even threw an elbow. Mm-hmm. She did the better in the clinching just because of that fact. I mean, even Weili's one takedown didn't last long. It was like a takedown, and then they got back up and got back to center to strike. So
I don't know. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes I just look at sports and things like that just to follow a certain wave. And call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm sure this will happen continuously as I become a guest here, that there's just certain things that I just see just fall a certain way for reasons that we can't understand, because you're going to see it time and time again. The numbers, as you always say, speak the truth, but it's not going to end up being the truth at the end of the day, and that's where we come into the conspiracy theories.
The numbers tell...
They tell a story, but unfortunately not in this fight.
The numbers never lie, but they don't tell the whole truth. That's my saying. Right. So,
I just
anyways,
wish I knew.
let's we've alluded to it a few times. Let's kind of get into the numbers real quick. So, total overall strikes 196 to 170. Joanna has the advantage there. Significant strikes is 186 for Joanna to 165 for Weili. And then obviously there was one takedown for Weili. Now, granted, when you hear someone has more strikes landed, that doesn't mean anything necessarily because they could have landed those in 2 rounds of 5, right? Or 1 round of 3. So you're like,
Did they give the breakdown for that?
So yeah, that's what I was just about. That's what I was alluding to. Is you go into the round by round. So if we go into strikes by round. We start to see where Joanna really just took advantage and had more volume in each of these. I mean, if we go through head strikes alone, 1, 2,
The head strikes were
3 body. So she won 3 rounds for total head strikes. Round 2 for that. I'm just looking through real quick.
Yeah,
1, 2.
We got to give the fight fans.
She won 3. She won 3 rounds, even with the body, because she throws a lot of body kicks.
What did the 5th round look like? That's where like my ass was on the fence.
So JJ actually won the striking advantage here. Why? Because she landed. So Weili won the head strikes 24 to 23, right? But JJ won body shots 9 to 3, and she won legs 14 to 10.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can't judge a fight off of what somebody's physical appearance is. Like, oh my god, he looks more,
no, but that's
or
my,
she
but
looks
that's
more beaten
yeah.
up. Like, who cares? Who cares?
But
that person may just be, more prone, like Donald Cerrone with Tony Ferguson. Like, you're just prone for your eye to swell or something to just look deformed. Yeah, Joanna looked crazy at the end of the fight, but she whooped ass.
And that's my point though, is she landed more volume through at least 3 or 4 of the rounds.
I don't know. I'm completely upset about this fight. You know, I don't know where it goes for Joanna from here. I think I don't believe in automatic rematches, but for this one, like, where else does Joanna go? She's everybody else's ass.
I
know Claudia Gadelha called her out during fight week, but come on.
JJ's beat everybody else except for except for Rose and now Weili. She's beat pretty much everybody else in this division.
Rose. Let's not even get into that.
No, she didn't. Hey, I was cheering for her. I'm not a big Rose fan. I was cheering for JJ, but I didn't think she won.
I hope Andrade drops her neck again, so we don't have to hear that shit.
But either way, I thought JJ won this. It was razor close. Either way, it was an amazing fight. Let's put it that way.
One of the best fights I've ever seen.
Well, let's leave it at that. Like, it was an amazingly close fight. It felt like it could have been ended at any minute. I mean, you're looking at how many freaking strikes were thrown in this, by the way. Let me go back to that.
I think they called like over 600 strikes.
So 4, 3, 7. So there was well over. Actually, there was close to 800 strikes thrown. Damn. Okay. And you're looking at about 50% of those, over 50% of those landing.
That is unreal.
Wow. Holy crap, man. For me, insane.
This is just, for me, it's heart-wrenching. I hope she's feeling better. I hope she's great. I know she got released last night. I was looking at Ariel Helwani's page. She got released probably around like 2 or 3. And, she had like one of those like ski mask things on. Like, she looked tore up, but I wish her the best. Weili, congratulations, honestly, from me. I don't think she deserved it, but it is what it is. Joanna, just keep it up. Let's keep going. It was a great fight. Would love to see it again.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, to your point, like, Joanna's about to turn into a perpetual gatekeeper. She's had so many title shot opportunities. She's about to turn into a gatekeeper for the title shot. But I think that she's pretty much better than everybody else that's not named Rose. Or actually, I think she's still better than Weili, but I don't like instant rematches. So, she's better than pretty much everybody else in that division that's not named Rose. So, she's just in a weird spot. Like,
I don't know if we both agree, but I think Andrade or Rose is going to get the next title shot.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
I don't know who else they would give you on at this point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I brought up Tatiana Suarez, but you said she's not ripe enough. The Claudia Gadelha and Alex Grasso probably would have been a good one between them two.
That would have been. Yeah.
But that shit's in the can. And Alex Grasso, I was surprised they didn't rebook it. They rebooked Claudia Gadelha. I don't even know who she's fighting. I never even heard the other person. But Alex Grasso is nowhere to be found.
She might be on a lot. I don't know. I don't know what happened with
She
that
may be a
situation.
suspension or something for not making weight, or no? Did they do that?
No, they don't usually suspend you for that.
Well, I don't know. This fight hit home for me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know. I honestly don't know where to go with that debate, because that debate you can go on forever about is it the bigger shots or the more shots land that should win you a fight, but because that's, like I said, it's contradicting of the main event. So let's kind of move in. Let's move into that.
Should have
now.
been the main event.
This should have been the main event, because the main event sucked. I'm gonna call it as
suck
it is.
Is an
man.
understatement, Ryan.
Yeah, because you know what? Like, so this is the thing that pisses me off is like, well, okay, it doesn't piss me off. So a lot of times there's
preach.
A lot of times there's fights where you say you don't understand. You're not, because if there's not a brawl and these guys aren't throwing, they're not going to war.
You gotta cut that shit out.
Well, some people are like, oh, this is a terrible fight. Not every fight needs to be a war for it to be good.
No, but even you well said it. Everybody paid for a fucking pay-per-view to see gladiators. You're not going to get that every time. This isn't a gladiator. You're not going to see a death.
But what this fight was embarrassing. This fight was completely embarrassing. Both guys are at fault in their own.
It was an over-technical fight.
No, this was not a technical fight because they both waited too fucking long. So I don't agree. I know that, Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan have to say good things because, they work for the UFC, but I do not agree that this was a good fight whatsoever. I think.
Can you get a little bit rougher? Good. Like,
I'm trying not to curse as much this week.
This fight was absolute shit.
Yeah, it was garbage.
Like, let's just start it off from the top. Ryan, talk about the first round. Period.
You mean the round where I think there was?
It wasn't even a round.
Where there was sorry. Let me correct myself. 6 total strikes thrown and landed. You mean that first round? 6 total strikes.
Has that even ever happened in the UFC?
There was one other fight that I can think off the top of my head, and it goes back to Houston Alexander versus Kimbo Slice. Those guys did the same exact thing where they respected each other too much and they wouldn't strike.
I don't know. I tied this fight on our page and post your thoughts that this was probably next to the worst UFC fight versus Ngannou.
To be honest, I kind of I said I expected a slow first round because I knew Yoel was going to stand in his defensive form, where he was going to stand up in the middle. He was going to try and wait because he wants to save his energy for the later rounds. And then I thought Adesanya would be feeling him out and stuff, but 6. Yeah. I keep saying 5. Oops, sorry, I mean 6.
Yeah, I
6
wish I had like a
freaking
Thanos
strikes. I would have said no freaking way.
Yeah, I wish I had like the Thanos gauntlet to just make that round disappear. Like that was just embarrassing. Like, and I called it last week with you. Like I didn't understand it. I'm not crazy about it. That Yoel walks in with this awkward, 2 hands up, covering pretty much his whole upper body and a little bit of his torso, and I just thought it was so weird. Like he literally stood there for like 2 minutes, and Israel just kind of like jumped in, jumped out, and Dan Miragliotta was like, "Yo guys, like people are paying for this shit.
Oh my god, multiple times.
Yo guys, like you need to start beating the shit out of each other. Yo guys, you need to start." And then
he told them, what was it at the beginning of round 3? He said, "You guys need to." Before they fought, he brought them to the middle. I've never seen this before, and he said, "You need to give the judges something to score."
I was dying.
God, I could not believe that. He said,
man,
"You need to give them
Joe
something
Rogan
to
and
score."
Daniel Cormier were like, "What is he doing? His damn job is what he was doing."
Hey man, I 100% agree with Dan Miragliotta on this. I don't agree with Joe Rogan.
It was pathetic.
I for strikers and guys that are trying to feel each other out, I give them a round and a half, 2 rounds.
I get
completely
agree.
Understand that. I thought it would turn up by mid-second round, and then definitely by rounds 3, 4, and 5, we would see a lot of fighting, and it just never happened. Holy crap, this fight was absolutely horrendous. And so here's the thing is, I blame Adesanya because even though he's very much a counter striker, you have to get people you have to bait people in to counter strike, especially when you know a guy like Yoel's gonna fucking stand there and wait for you to come in. You have to be able to bait him in. You have the reach, you have the length, you're the champion. You wanted this is the other thing too, is you wanted this fight. You said you wanted to go out there and prove that you're the better fighter. You asked to fight
shit last night.
You asked for Yoel specifically, all right, because Yoel to me didn't deserve to fight here, even though I love Yoel Romero. He just is coming off a loss. That doesn't give you the opportunity. That should not give you the opportunity to get a championship shot.
Honestly, Ryan, was like, in whatever way Yoel feels the most comfortable, I thought if you're going to call this fight, bring the best out of him. Bring it out of him. And then piecemeal him apart. And he did none of that. And
who Adesanya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you call somebody out, you want them to be in the best form possible. And Yoel made weight.
Yep.
Yoel went out of his way to even make weight. Like, I mean,
he went out of his way to do his job.
Well, I mean, if you look at his record, he struggled.
But I will say, one of those times that he didn't make weight was on short notice, and the second one was coming off of an injury. So,
well, I mean, honestly,
because he makes it by like razor thin margins as it is.
For me,
if he's thrown off by a day, I think that would screw him up. But going back to your point,
reel that person in, bring the best out of them, and pick them apart.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand. Like, you know what Yoel's going to do coming into this fight. You knew how he was going to fight. I give you round 1 and 2. I give you round 1 and 2 to do that. I feel like obviously Anderson Silva is one of my favorite all time fighters, and he would always do that every single fight. He'd look for it round 1 and 2.
And the craziest thing is in one of the post fight interviews, I don't remember the young lady who was interviewing Adesanya is like. And I thought it was, I don't want to say stupid. I don't want to be rude, but I thought it was stupid. Like, oh, Israel, like you're kind of like an algorithm. You need to be able to read what the other person's going to do before you act. You fucking called out Yoel Romero. You should have not been waiting for him to do a goddamn thing.
You had 25 minutes.
You should have pushed the pace. Got him to wake up out of whatever funk this guy was bringing to the goddamn ring. It was a freaking joke what Yoel did.
No, but he does that though. That's his style.
I get it. But yo, switch. At the end of the, I'm
gonna. Don't worry, I'm gonna go in on Yoel here in a minute.
My argument. I'm gonna bring it back from last week to this week, from a boxing perspective. You bring the fight. If you want to win, you want to do something. You make that fight happen. He did nothing. If you're going to call a fight, you don't wait for somebody to bring it to you. You called the fight. You bring it to them.
Yeah, but that's Adesanya that called the fight. He should have brought it.
Yeah, and he didn't.
Because like I said, so my thing is, Yoel's been fighting like this for a while. You had to have known that he was going to come in defensive like this. You had to have known that he was going to be sitting there, so you have to bait him into strike. But let me go in on Yoel too, because he's not away from the fault here, because the other thing too is, dude, you've gotten ripped off at least one time. I think he beat Robert Whittaker in the second fight.
I think he beat Costa as well.
I definitely think he beat Costa. And
he came forward in that fight.
But here's the thing is, you know that you can't leave it in the judge's hands. There was a few times where he sprinted and he looked stronger. He pushed Adesanya.
Yeah, he got him into the cage.
He would push him against the cage, but then he let him go. Dude, you also have to go out there and get it. Like, trust me, I put a lot of the blame on Adesanya because he's the more aggressive fighter coming into this. He called this fight. He wanted this fight. He asked for it. He should have been the one pressing a lot of it. But at the same time, Yoel, dude, what the fuck did you think was going to happen if you were standing there in the middle and you didn't strike, dude? You got to go for it, baby. You should know that from your last 3-4 fights that you have to go and get it, man.
And honestly, I dislike to be this negative. Like, they're getting paid. This is an art. Mixed martial arts, and it's scary to be in there. And this isn't about. This should never be about pleasing the fans, even though it is. It should be about you going in there to do something for yourself because you think you're the best.
I agree with that.
Either which way you spin it, not one of them went in there and did that.
No, absolutely not. Let's quickly run, because there's like no stats here to say. Seriously,
hey man, I'm not trying to end this show right now, man.
Dude, by the time round 3 came around for Joanna and Wei Lee, I think they had already thrown over 300 punches. Okay, let's run through the stats for this freaking fight. Round 1, 2 strikes to 4 strikes. Yoel won that one.
Oh,
okay.
Shocking.
Round 2, 11 strikes to 7 strikes. Adesanya won that one. Mind you, most of these for Adesanya are leg kicks. Okay, most of these are leg kicks. Round 3, 12 strikes to 9 strikes. 11 to 6 and 12 to 14. Adesanya won all.
And
those.
I'm not a mathematician, and I can pretty much add that up in my head.
And all the significant strikes, 52% of those are to the leg. So those are all of his leg kicks. So 52% of those strikes that he landed, which are so freaking few. How many did he land total? 48. Over 50% of those are leg kicks. So it was an embarrassing fight to lead a pay-per-view like that, especially after the build-up, after the intimidation factor for both these guys, and then just neither of them brought it. I was so disappointed. I don't know. And you know what sucks too about this is I am not a big Dana White fan, and that's an understatement, all right? But he literally said, I did this because I thought this would be a fun fight, and the other people told me that I was wrong to do that this shouldn't be a matchup because Paulo, they should wait for Paulo to come up. But Dana White said, no, I think that this would be a fun fight to watch. Now, is he ever going to do this again?
Most likely not.
I'm disgusted. I wait. The only thing that I'm happy about is that this wasn't a long, drawn out process. Like, they talked a bunch of shit. They decided to fight. They've got it matched up. And, I mean, we were here a couple months after. You know what I mean? Like, so this isn't something that had been drawn out for months or even years on end, kind of like Tony and Khabib has been. So that's the only good thing is at least we got this crap out of the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I said it all this whole time. Fight fans, give your prediction. Share what you felt, what you think. You know, we're always willing to be called out or corrected because, we're not perfect. I mean, just think about the odds if, based on our call-outs for last week on who we think should win or did win. And we were wrong this week and we were right this week.
I think Yoel should have won this one just by the heavy strikes that he landed. Even though the volume wasn't higher.
I know, but those leg kicks, man, were ridiculous. Did you see his leg? If you didn't, zoom in on that shit.
All right, but that's what we were talking about, though, is we're talking about what you just said in the last fight, that it shouldn't matter what the fighter looks like at the end.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. He landed what? Like literally.
Neither of them did anything.
6 significant punches.
Neither of them did anything. And Daniel Cormier said that there is in no world that Adesanya should have been losing this fight. And I think he got called out on that one because even Dominic Cruz said, well, Adesanya is not doing much more than Yoel Romero is. I thought that was pretty funny because Daniel's like, maybe that's when they started the whole, well, we're not judges, we're just watching the fight. Well, if you're watching the fight, then you should know there's not much happening on either side here. So whatever. I don't know. I was pissed. I was very much forward looking to this fight. Both these guys are great. They've had a lot of wars lately. They've had a lot of big-time fights. I thought this one would be exciting, and it ended up just being a bore, snooze fest, hesitation, too much respect shown for either guy. Not after the fight, not talking to each other because Yoel went off. But, again, I thought Yoel was at fault, too, for not pushing the pace to try and get that fucking belt. Because, dude, it was out there for your taking.
Yeah, so, at this point,
I don't know.
I could care less who he fights. Israel Adesanya, everybody knows it's already called. He's going to be fighting Paulo Costa. I swear to Christ, if he respects this guy's power, I'm going to sign off on this dude.
Who, on Adesanya?
Yeah, because you know what? I was thinking about it last night. I didn't even talk about it. How dare Israel put on this kind of fight and have the balls to call out John Jones or have the balls to talk shit to John Jones? John Jones, even though, and you said it, he hasn't had the fights that he's had in the past where he just comes and he mauls people. But at least when he comes in, he technically beats the shit out of his opponents. Thiago Santos, Alex Smith, Dominic Reyes. He won those fights. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Well, you're not going to get around with John Jones where he throws
Israel
5
Adesanya,
punches.
They're talking about 2021 Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas, that Israel's ready for this. If you're going to fucking walk in there for a fighter and that much respect somebody like Yoel Romero, what are you going to do when you fucking come up against John Jones? What are you going to do? If you did this against John Jones, you are dead because he's definitely not going to respect you. I don't give a shit who you are. Yeah. So, Izzy, in your next fight, you better do something, boy, because this was absolutely pathetic. If anybody else out there that's following us and that's liking our pages, you feel differently, put it on there. Let us know, because for me, this was absolutely pathetic.
So one of the things too, because there wasn't much technique that came out of here to talk about.
I wouldn't even use that word.
There wasn't much.
There wasn't much of a fight. I probably.
So the other problem I had with Yoel too is he never cut off the cage. Like if you're circling Adesanya, you're chasing him down. You don't follow him on his exact path. You have to cut him off. If you've played football, if you played baseball, you should know this. You got to cut off the angles, right? So you can't follow a guy, because then that's the longest route to get to them. He has to cut him off where he's going, not where he's been, and he kept doing that, and I don't know why he kept doing that. And the other thing, too, is he had him up against the cage a few times, and then he took steps back and let him come back out to center. What are you waiting for, boy? What are you waiting for?
Boy.
Those are your opportunities. That's where you should want to have Israel Adesanya. You know he doesn't throw power punches to knock people out in one shot. You have to fucking throw there. So, again, both these guys were at fault as far as I'm concerned. It should have been a draw at the end of the fucking fight. I like, as disgusted as I am, it should have just been a freaking draw.
Yeah.
Not that I'd want to see these guys in an instant rematch
Absolutely
whatsoever.
not. So let's just call it how it is. But you know what? Anything else from you? Because there's nothing here for significant strikes or what have you. But
no, there's nothing on the stats that I want to see. I mean, were there even? Yeah, there was no takedowns. Yoel attempted 3. I think he put Israel's butt on the floor once or twice, but Israel literally popped right back up, so they didn't actually give him the takedown for it. But and then he let him go. I think of the 2 times he's pressed him up against the cage or pressed him down, he seemed to just let him go and was completely complacent with getting back to the middle of the ring.
Yeah, well, I'm tired with this fight, but fight fans, fans of the casual MMA. Just so you all know, I don't know if Ryan has mentioned it in the past, but just as a heads up, like, we're only covering the pay-per-views at this point. As we continue to grow and move forward, we'll probably do some other fights, but being that there's going to be about a month in between, Ryan, I would love to, not sure if you're okay with it, but like, talk about the next couple of weeks up until Khabib Ferguson, because I think there's some huge fights to be expecting and to be looking for. Are you called to talk about that? Yeah, so you know what we can do, and Sean and I have done this, because sometimes there are longer layoffs, like most of last year, from quarter 2, 3, and 4, looking at the fiscal year, the UFC had at least 2 pay-per-view events a month, right? So far, starting off 2020, they've only had 1 a month, and to your point, I think the next one's pretty far off. I'll get into that here in a second. So what we did once or twice was we got together and we kind of did like a touch-up episode where we would just talk about all the news, some of the results of the most recent fight nights and all the free cards and stuff. So what we can do is that, like, maybe midway or like towards the end of March, because I think the next one's not till mid-April with Khabib Ferguson. We can connect maybe at the end of March and maybe just have like a quick catch-up episode, because there's a hell of a lot. Like, we have, all right, so 248 was March 7th. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have 4 fight nights before we have the next pay-per-view. So that's a lot. And we have a ton of great fights. Lee versus Oliveira, Woodley versus Edwards, Ngannou versus Rosenstruck. And then Overeem versus Harris. So, I mean, we have some good headliners here. So I will definitely say, Ryan, I think we should double click into them, because just from a glance, like on the Oliveira card, whoa, you got Damian Maia, Gilbert Burns. You got Renato Moicano against Damir Hozovic, which I think is going to be a great fight, because after Renato's last loss, he needs to come back. Jimmy got Johnny Walker against Nikita Krivalev, which I love.
That will be a great
Nikita
fight.
Krivalev. And I mean, you got Francis Trinaldo against John Makadesi, which is always a great fight to watch. And I know we're going to touch on it, but I mean, just double click into some of these fights. I mean, there are some serious fights on these cards. I mean, even on the Tyron Woodley fight, just to run through, you got Darian Stewart against Martin Ventinero. Who else? I mean, well, that's pretty much the other only big fight on there. But there was another one that I wanted to see. I know we got our local Nico Price coming up.
Who's he fighting? I didn't even see that he was.
Yeah, no,
up.
I was scrolling through. Give me 1 second, because as you all know, we're from Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Florida. Nico Price is a local favorite, but so we got Francis Ngannou on that fight. We got Cody Garbrandt, coming in against Rafael Asucano, which I think is going to be great. Cody Garbrandt's got something to prove. If he doesn't, goodbye, write him off. Aspen Ladd against Juliana Pena. I know Aspen looked great even after her fight and getting knocked out by Duranamy. You got Matt Brown, the veteran, coming in against Miguel Baeza. You got Greg Hardy coming up.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I see Nico.
Ryan's favorite and one of mine as well, Kirill Roundtree, is coming up on that fight in the
I
Ngannou
can't
fight.
wait.
Tisha Torres is coming back. Okay, so Nico Price isn't on this card. Let's see.
He's on. I have it up here. So he's actually on the Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris. This card's pretty loaded too. Michelle Waterson's fighting Carla Esparza.
Vincent
Luque's on here.
Yeah.
Eric Anders is fighting Joko. And then Price is fighting Brunson and Shabazian.
Oh!
Remember? That was the one that we talked about.
That was one that got knocked off
here.
of this one.
Yeah, that got knocked off 248. So, yeah, there's some loaded cards. So what we can do is we can probably connect here at the end of the month and do a recap of the fight nights that happen and then just kind of look forward to the ones that have.
Yeah, I'd love to.
That are coming up.
Fans, followers of the Casual MMA, let us know, what you like, what you dislike. Because at the end of the day, we love doing this, but at this point, we're doing it for you. So, join in.
And we're doing it for me, too. 100%.
Join in and share, because at the end of the day, we just want to make this bigger and better for everyone else.
We want to open up the conversation. That's the point of having a podcast, right? And that's why we're called the Casuals MMA. Is it's just supposed to be a discussion between all the fans, and I mean that we're fans and fans of the UFC. I mean that's really what this is. Is it's just a show for fans by fans, and we just want to open up the discussion. So, however we can do that. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit us up on our Facebook page, because what we're going to start doing is building out our. Yeah, we're going to start building out our guest list for quarter 2 of 2020. Yeah, for the pay-per-view events. Thank you for specifying on that. So, so if you want to be or if you want to join us for one of those, and you don't have to come in, you can call in as well. So just hit us up on one of those pages. And again, if you don't mind to remember, just give us a rating on all the sites that you're listening to. That really helps us go a long way to kind of spread our word and get more people into the community for the Casuals MMA discussion. So thank you, everybody. I think we're pretty much done closing out the show. We'll make an announcement on Facebook or social media soon, Twitter. Follow us on all of our social media pages.
We're on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're on YouTube, working on iHeartRadio.
Yep.
Ryan said it at the beginning of the show. If there's anyone that you specifically stream on, let us know. We'll be more than happy to add ourselves to it, if anything.
And the thing too is, like I said, what I'll do is we'll go back and we'll look at the schedule, and then we'll announce on our social media pages when we'll have our next show. Because our next scheduled show is going to be UFC 249, which is going to be Ferg versus Khabib. But we'll do one before that, because we do have a pretty long layoff, and we like getting together to have just this discussion. So it would be nice to have a little one-off episode in between. Cool. Sound good?
Ryan, it was fantastic. Thanks so much once again for having me on.
Yeah.
I hope to join more so in the future. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week for both the preview and the post-fight show. It's been fun. Everybody, thank you for tuning in and listening if you made it this far. We love you. We appreciate you. Everybody, enjoy your week. Peace.